Hello everyone. So in today's video we will look at the rise of Indian nationalism. The Indian nationalism was reaped by the stimulus generated by British Raj, or we can say that Indian nationalism grew partly as a result of colonial policies and partly as a reaction to it. In fact, it would be more correct to see Indian nationalism as a product of a mix of various factors, like worldwide upsurge of the concept of nationalism and right of self-determination initiated by French Revolution. Also, Indian Renaissance. Also, the other reasons like offshoot of modernization initiated by British Raj and strong reaction to British imperialist policy within India played their part to incite nationalism within the Indian masses. There were several factors that were responsible for the conscience of Indian masses towards nationalization, and these factors were the understanding of the contradiction in Indian and colonial interests. People came to realize that colonial rule was the major cause of India's economic backwardness, and that the interest of the Indians involved in the interest of all the section as well as classes. The political, administrative, and economic unification of the country was done by the British in a unique manner, which we will see one by one. Firstly, the political unity. All the Indian subcontinent was under the direct rule of British, and the princely states were under indirect British rule. The exchange of the political ideas and for the mobilization and organization of the public opinion on political as well as economic issue gave shape to modern nationalism. As for the administrative unity, a professional civil service, a unified judiciary, and a codified civil and criminal laws throughout the length and breadth of the country imparted a new dimension of the political unity. The urge for the economic penetration and the commercial exploitation, all in British interest, were driving force behind the planned development of modern means of transport and communication such as railways, roads, electricity and telegraph. This modern means of transport and communication brought the people, especially the leaders from different regions together. Also, the economic fate of the people of different regions got linked together. For instance, the failure of crop in one region affected the price and supply of the other region. Also, the introduction of modern system of education afforded the opportunities for the assimilation of modern Western ideas. In self-interest of efficient administration, English system of education was conceived by the rulers of India. The modern, rationalist, secular and democratic idea of Indian masses was shaped by the European writers like Milton, Shelley, John Stuart Mill, Rousseau, Paine, Spencer and Voltaire. These European writers shed the light on how an ethical society should work. The role of press and literature could not be ignored in the second half of the 19th century, which saw an unprecedented growth of Indian owned English as well as vernacular newspapers. These papers, on one hand, criticized the official policies and on the other hand, they urged the people to unite. Despite numerous restrictions imposed on the press by the colonial rule from time to time, these newspapers helped to spread modern ideas of self-government, democracy and civil rights. The historical researchers by European scholars such as Max Muller, Monner, Roth and Sassoon, as well as on the Indian side, the scholars like R.G. Bhandarkar, R.L. Mitra and later Swami Vivekanand created an entirely new picture of India's past. This picture was characterized by well-developed political, economic and social institutions, a flourishing trade with the outside world, a rich heritage in art and culture, and also in numerous cities. The theory put forward by the European scholars that the Indo-Aryan belonged to the same ethnic group from which the other nations of Europe had evolved gave a physiological boost to the educated Indians. The progressive character of socio-religious reform movement brought the different sections and classes together. The British administrative economic innovations gave rise to a new and urban middle class. This class was prominent because of its education and the new position, as well as its close ties with the ruling classes, came to the forefront. The leadership of the Indian National Congress in all its stages of growth was provided by this class. There was a huge impact of the contemporary movements in the world, like rise of a number of nations on the ruins of Spanish and Portuguese empire in South America, and the national liberation movements of Greece and Italy in general and of Ireland in particularly deeply influenced the nationalist ranks. The reactionary policy and the racial arrogance of rulers deeply hurted the Indian masses. For example, the racial myth of white superiority, a deliberate policy of the British of discrimination and segregation, could be seen in judiciary where the judicial disqualification was based on race distinction. Also, the reactionary policies of Lytton, like the reduction of maximum age limit for ICS exam from 21 years to 19 years, and Delhi Darbar in 1877 when the country was in the severe grip of famine. Also, Vernacular Press Act and Arms Act of 1878 provoked a storm of opposition in the country. Now we will see the political association before the Indian National Congress which contributed towards the Indian nationalism. As we all know that Indian National Congress was not the first political organization of India. However, most of the political associations in the early 19th century were dominated by wealthy and aristocratic elements. They were local and had regional effect and also demanded for the administrative reform, association of Indians with the administration and spread of education. The political association of the second half of the 19th century, as we all know, increasingly was dominated by the educated middle class, the lawyers, journalists, doctors, and teachers, who had a wider perspective and a larger agenda. Also, the three presidencies of British India, that is, Bengal, Bombay, Madras, were at the front foot for these associations. Now we will look at the political associations in Bengal. First is Bangabhasha Prasarika Sabha, which was formed in 1836 by the associates of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. The other one is Bengal British India Society, founded in 1843. This organization was a peaceful and lawful organization, and the objective of this organization was the collection and dissemination of information relating to the actual condition of the people of British India. There was one more association, the Zamindari Association, which was popularly known as Landholder Society and was founded to safeguard the interest of the landlords. Now, the interesting factor here is, though it had a limited objective, it marked the beginning of an organized political activity and the use of method of constitutional agitation for the redressal of the grievances. The British India Association of 1851 was founded by merging of Landholder Society and Bengal British India Society. It sent a petition to the British Parliament demanding the inclusion of some of its suggestions to the renewed charter of the company, like the establishment of a separate legislature of a popular character, separation of executive from the judicial function, reduction in salaries of higher officers, and abolition of salt duty and stamp duties. These were partially accepted when the Charter Act of 1853 came into existence. The East India Association was founded by Dadabhai Naoroji in 1866 in London, and its aim was to discuss the Indian question and influence the public men in England to promote Indian welfare. Another association was Indian League by Shishir Kumar Ghosh in 1875 with the objective of stimulating the sense of nationalism amongst the people and also encouraging the political education. The Indian Association of Calcutta, or the Indian National Association, was founded in 1876 by Surendranath Banerjee and Anand Mohan Bose. It superseded the Indian League and was aimed to promote, by every legitimate means, the political, intellectual, and material advancement of the people. The association campaigned against the reduction of age limit in 1877 for the candidates of Indian civil services, also against the Repressive Arms Act and the Vernacular Press Act. Now we will look at political association in Bombay. First is Pune Sarvajanik Sabha of 1867, which was founded by Mahadev Govind Ranade and the others. The objective of this association was to serve as a bridge between the government and the people. And the other one is the Bombay Presidency Association, which was started by Badruddin Tyabji, Firoz Shah Mehta, and K.T. Telang in 1885. The political association of Madras was the Madras Mahajan Sabha, was founded in 1884 by M. V. Raghavchari, B. Subramanya Iyer, and P. Anand Charlu. All these associations organized various campaigns before Indian National Congress appeared in the scene. These campaigns were for imposition of import duty on cotton, for Indianization of the government services, against Lytton's Afghan adventure, against Arms Act, also Vernacular Press Act, for the rights to join volunteer corps, against plantation of labor, and against Inland Immigration Act. Also in support of Ilbit Bill and for All India Fund for Political Agendas, campaigns in Britain to vote for pro-Indian parties and against the reduction of maximum age appearing in Indian civil services. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it was helpful for you. For more videos, please subscribe our channel.